Hello everyone, it's Ben Tenglum here, back with another video. We're doing a March Madness early prediction. This is with the Bracketology that ESPN posted. And we're going to be doing that today. It's going to be a little hard for me to do this, so what we're going to do is we're going to do each one of these. I'm going to put a color next to, so Midwest, I want to be orange, then blue for East, and then South, I want to be red, and then the next one's going to be green for West. So those are the colors, and how I'm going to do it is, for example, let's do Midwest, for example. We drag this to go there. Like that is how we're doing it. So that's what we're going to be doing. I have Purdue moving against, well, for example, we're going to go ahead and start by circling who I think is going to win out of these play-ins. Eastern Kentucky, Gonzaga, and then Grambling, and then Seton Hall. So those are the ones I have moving forward. And we'll start with Purdue, which Purdue is going to move forward. We're going to put number 1 going here. 1 seed. Purdue moving on to play. I think Colorado is going to be an upset. So it's going to be Colorado number 9 playing number 1. Then we got Clemson versus Richmond. Richmond's not bad, but I think Clemson's actually having a great year. I'm a Clemson fan. I know this is going to be a little biased, but I have Clemson winning that game. Then Auburn is going to win against Louisiana State. They're having a great year. But I have this game going either way, which I'll explain later. South Carolina is frauds. I think they're going to lose to Gonzaga, which I have beating Providence in the play-ins. So South Carolina is going to lose, and I have number 11 moving forward. Then you got Kansas, Cornell. Kansas should have an easy game with that. Then next up, let me zoom in. There we go. Boise versus Wake. Boise is doing really good, but Wake recently did lose to Notre Dame, but I do think Wake is going to have another upset. I think Wake is going to win that one there. Then Marquette, easy win for them, I think. They should easily win that. And then we'll start back up at the top here. Purdue beating Colorado State, I think, is very simple here. So we move. Number 1 moves on. Then I have actually Clemson upsetting Auburn here. I'm probably going to be wrong because I'm a Clemson fan, but I can see this game being very close. So, because we beat UNC and I think Duke this year. So, I mean, we've gotten some upsets. We beat Alabama, so I think there's definitely a possibility for doing that. But then this is where I think Clemson loses, but I'll explain that. Gonzaga versus Kansas. Kansas just too good. They, I think, dominate Gonzaga, less prominent Gonzaga this year. Wake Forest versus Marquette. Marquette wins that with ease. Wake just does not have the power, I think, to beat Marquette. So then we go here. We got we got Clemson, number 5, versus number 1, Purdue. This game isn't going to be close. As a Clemson fan, this game's not going to be close. Purdue is just going to shit on us. So that's where number 1, Purdue, goes forward. And then here, I have Kansas beating Marquette. So number 3, Kansas, upsetting number 2, Marquette. So this is 64, right? Or is that 32? One. So 16, yeah. So 32, 16, right? Or 24, 16, or under 24, and then 16. Yeah, I do have Clemson going to the Sweet 16, which is a first for them. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and then do the West Los Angeles division here in green. Arizona versus Grambling State, I think I have. Yeah. Arizona wins that with ease, I think. Northwestern, TCU. Northwestern, I think, beats TCU. Northwestern's actually looking pretty good, I'd say. So we're going to go with number 8, Northwestern. Then, here we go, BYU, Grand Canyon. Both of these teams are doing bad, but BYU's having a great year, and I think they're going to do really good this game. So I'm going to give it to BYU, because I don't follow these teams as much, but I know BYU's doing good. They have a decent record. San Diego State, I think, wins this too. They did go, I think, in the Final Four last year, or was it the last two? I think it was the finals. Wisconsin, Seton Hall. I have this being a big upset, and I have this going. I'll explain later, but up here, I have Seton Hall beating New Mexico. So we look here, Wisconsin is on the low. They're struggling, I think. So is Seton Hall, but I actually have Seton Hall moving forward. So number 11 moves forward. Okay, number 11 versus number 3, Bama. Then Utah State, Virginia. I think Virginia still wins, even though they lack a lot of shit. Like, they're not good this year, but I think they do win one. But then after that, they're not going to win again. Iowa State's having a great year. I think they're going to go pretty far. 10, and then number 2, Iowa State beats Eastern Washington. Then let's go back up here. Number 8, Northwestern versus number 1, Arizona. Number 1, Arizona moves forward. And then number 5 versus number 4. I have San Diego State moving on here against BYU. I think this is going to go either way, but I'm going to give it to San Diego State just because their year last year and them staying pretty consistent this year. They got to move forward for me. I don't see BYU ever being in one of these before. This is where this gets interesting. I think Alabama loses to Seton Hall. So I have an 11 seed going in to the Sweet 16. Then I also have Iowa State moving on here. And then let's go ahead and go over to South Dallas now. Well, first, after I do that. I didn't do that yet. Whoops, my bad, guys. I know this is a scuffed video. I apologize. But here we go. Let's look at this here. So, number 1, Arizona versus number 4, San Diego State. I think Arizona moves forward. Going there. And then I have number 11 versus number 2. I have number 11 going into the Elite 8. And that's Seton Hall. And I'm going to mark out that because they're not in it. And then I'm going to go up here, Gonzaga. Choose the orange. Mark out Providence. Okay, and then mark out, I think I had Eastern Kentucky, yeah. So I could fix that real quick. And fix this real quick. Now, let's go ahead and go over to South in Dallas. In red. Houston, looking great. I'm going to put them moving up. Number 1, Houston beating South Dakota State. Then Nebraska, I think, upsets Mississippi State, so we're going to go with 9. Illinois is actually doing really good, but I think they lost recently. I can't remember, but I have them beating McNeese State. I think they can do that with ease. Well, that was a terrible 5. There we go. Then number 4, Duke versus Stanford. Duke, I think, wins this pretty easily. Even though they lost a couple games that they shouldn't have lost, like they lost to Wake, which Wake beat them at Duke, and then they had that storming incident. But I think Duke struggles a little this year, but they'll still do pretty good. They always do. Dayton, South Florida. I think I see... I will give it to Dayton here, because Dayton, I think, wins this. I think I could go either way, to be honest. But Creighton beats Charleston, so I think that's pretty easy for Creighton. Then I actually think Creighton's going to go very far. That's just my opinion. Texas Tech, Nevada. I think Texas Tech wins against Nevada. And then Tennessee and Fairfield. Tennessee wins that. And let's see. Number 1, Houston versus number 9, Nebraska. Number 1, Houston obviously moves forward against Nebraska. I think that's pretty easy for them. Illinois versus Duke. I have Illinois losing to Duke, so Duke moves on to play number 1, Houston. Dayton versus Creighton. Creighton wins, in my opinion. I think Creighton's going to go very far. And then Texas Tech, Tennessee. Tennessee beats Texas Tech. And then I do have an upset here. I have Duke beating Houston. So Duke, number 4, goes to play. So number 4, Duke goes to play, and I have another upset here, Tennessee losing to Creighton. Number 4 versus number 3. I know that's surprising. So this whole South Division is full of upsets. So number 3 and number 4 goes in my opinion. So not a number 1 goes through in this. Now we go over to the blue, which is East in Boston. I'm pretty sure that's... So this UConn, I really do think, has a chance to win everything this year. Again. UConn's just too damn good. So I have UConn moving forward, and then I have Michigan State upsetting Texas. Because I think Michigan State's, yes, they are a little rocky, but I think they do beat Texas. Because they're known to be decent in the past. It's number 1 versus number 9 there. Washington State versus Appalachian State. I have Appalachian State beating Washington State. So number 12 moves on and beats number 5 in a big upset. Kentucky beats Vermont. Kentucky's, my opinion, is not as good as they used to be. I think they're actually going to lose They'll lose, I think, in the Elite 8 or Sweet 16. Yeah, they'll lose in the Sweet 16. Then you got St. Mary's, Indiana State. St. Mary's moves on. It beats in there. And then High Point, Baylor. Baylor, I think, moves on with ease, too. Oops. Ooh, it's hard to write on mouse. And now we got Florida Atlantic versus Florida. They're both on the down, but I think Florida Atlantic upsets Florida here. So give me Florida Atlantic. And then North Carolina and Collegiate. I have North Carolina winning. And I think North Carolina's overranked this year, to be honest. They lost to Clemson. They've lost to a couple teams. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. So anyways, let's go ahead and finish doing this. UConn versus Michigan State. UConn moves forward for me. Kentucky versus Appalachian State. Kentucky moves on. There's not much to say about those games. I think they make sense. St. Mary's, Baylor. I'm actually going to put... this is hard to choose. Because this game, I think, goes either way. But I'm actually going to give it to number 3. Baylor, I think, moves forward. Then North Carolina, Florida Atlantic. I think North Carolina does move on as well. So, well, I don't have a lot of upsets here. I could give... The thing is, Florida Atlantic, I could see beating North Carolina. I could see it. But for how I think things are going to go, I'm going to leave it as this. UConn, I think, beats Kentucky with ease. Kentucky is just off this year. So I have number 1, UConn moving forward. And then I have number 2, probably North Carolina. Makes sense. I don't know. Do I think they'll do that? Yeah. Because I think they can beat Baylor. I don't think Baylor's... Yes, them being on the up and a 3 seed, I still think North Carolina can probably come out on top in a really close game. But that's what I have. So I have Purdue versus Kansas. Then for the Midwest. Then in the West, I have Arizona versus number 11 Seton Hall. Then in the South, I have number 4, which is Duke versus number 3, Creighton. And up here in the East, I have UConn versus North Carolina. And we're going to start with the Midwest again. Here is going to be Purdue versus number 3, Kansas. And this is where I see Purdue going out. I think Kansas beats Purdue. So we're going to go to text here. Put Kansas moving on. Well, I might just do it in this again, to be honest. So I have Kansas moving on. Which, number 3, whoops, that's blue, not green. Number 3, Kansas moves into the Final Four. Then we got the West. Now, I do think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really close game. But I think Purdue's going to choke, final bit, lose. I know that's a bold prediction, but we'll see here. Then here is where we have the West. And in the West, I have number 1, Arizona versus number 11, Seton Hall. I have a huge upset here as well. I have number 11 going in and beating Arizona. I know that's crazy. I have number 11 beating Wisconsin. I have number 11 beating Alabama. I mean, I have Seton Hall beating Wisconsin. I have Seton Hall beating Alabama. I have Seton Hall beating Iowa State. And I have Seton Hall beating Arizona. I have them going on an absolute rampage to get to the Final Four. I think they can do it. Then let's go ahead and do the red, which is South. Number 4, Duke versus number 3, Creighton. I have Creighton moving on. So number 3, Creighton beating Duke. Like, Duke did beat Houston, come off a huge win, but I think they are going to lose against Creighton pretty much. Creighton had a relatively easy time other than Tennessee, who they would have to face, which is, I think, going to be a close game. But then this game is also going to be close and hard for them. That game could go either way. I have Houston losing in the Sweet 16. I really don't think they get past there. which I know is crazy because they're the number one I don't have going past the Sweet 16. Yeah. I think they'll choke. I do. Anyways, we're going to go and get on to the East division here. East. Number 1, UConn versus number 2, North Carolina. UConn wins this for me. UConn has a clear win for me here. I don't think North Carolina has the power to beat UConn. I think UConn is just too dominant. So now we got this Final Four here. This Final Four is UConn, which I'm going to go ahead and up the thickness a little bit here. And just draw a line going all the way. For that. Then Purdue, I'll do the same thing. Whoops, wrong color. There we go. So y'all can see a little bit better of where I have everyone going. Let's do the South real fast. So where's Creighton? Oh, whoops. Hold on. Messed that up. I didn't have Purdue going there. Where's number 3? Kansas. There we go. That's that. Then we go with the green next. I have number 11 upsetting absolutely everyone. They even have a play-in game, so I know people are going to be like, that is the stupidest thing. Which, I know, sounds dumb. But I literally do have them going really, really far. Next is the red, which I have Creighton going. And doing that. There you go. So that gives you a little better of an idea of how I think things are going to go. And then, here we go. UConn versus Creighton. Well, we'll come back to that game. It's going to be UConn versus Creighton in the Final Four. And Kansas versus Seton Hall. So number 3 versus number 11. The only number 1 I have in the Final Four is UConn. And how I see that going is like very close game. I don't really know, but I'll explain later. I think Kansas does beat Seton Hall, ends their reign. I think Kansas will have a field day with them. That's going to be the one time I think it's actually going to be a field day for Kansas, and they are going to move on. So I have Kansas going and beating. I have them beating Seton Hall. I see that happening. Then you have, let's see, UConn versus Creighton. This game is harder for me to pick because I do think UConn will win, but I also see Creighton winning and moving on. Oh, it's such a hard choice. Very, very hard. You know what? Give me Creighton. Give me Creighton to win this one. I don't think they'll go back to back. I really don't think UConn will do that. I mean, they very well could, but they're not. I don't think they will. So let's go and add the text here so we make it a little easier to see. So we have Creighton. And then we have up here, Kansas Creighton versus Kansas in the final. In the finals, and who I see winning it all this year, this is gonna be like a 50-50 for me as well. But you know what? Give me I think after beating number 1 UConn, I think Creighton's going to be on a high and be like going crazy. So, you know what? Give me Creighton to win all of it. Give me Creighton to win the whole thing. Let's go to 8. Let's go Creighton to win it all here. And I have Creighton winning everything for my March Madness. So, red, Creighton, winner. Let's see who I have them winning. That's my March Madness predictions. This obviously will change. I might do it again next week. But this is what I got. Interesting, I know. So, Kansas had to go through, beat Gonzaga, which it's a weak Gonzaga, so I think they win. Then I also think they upset Marquette. And just for my favorite team, Clemson beats Richmond, and then Auburn beats Louisiana Tech. And I do think Clemson can beat Auburn. So I have them going to the Sweet 16, but losing the Sweet 16. They won't get past Purdue. In my opinion, they will not. I mean, a miracle for them is if they actually played Oklahoma or Colorado State. That would be great for them. Then I think they do go on. But they don't. I don't think that's going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. UConn has a breeze through everyone they play until they get to Creighton. And I think that's where their reign stops. And then here, Houston going out in the Sweet 16 is my opinion. They're going to be the number 1 team that actually folds the one team that's ranked number 1 and folds. Creighton moving on, beating even Tennessee and beating number 4 Duke. So, and then the biggest surprise of them all, Seton Hall going into the Final Four as an 11 seed and as in a play-in. Yeah, that's a wild prediction from me, but I see them doing it. They're not terrible. They're not as bad as people think they are. I think they win very well, but they'll lose in the Final Four. I mean, very well Arizona can end up winning, and very well people see Iowa State going in even as well. But I have this as my predictions. The final 2, Kansas versus Creighton. I'm not going to say a score because I don't know. But I do have Creighton winning in a close matchup. I'm going to say a 5-point game. A 5-point game. Makes sense. That's that, guys. So let me know what y'all think. I don't know a lot of basketball. I don't watch a lot of basketball. I'm just going based off what I've heard from other people. But yeah, the one teams I really watch is Clemson and Wake a lot. So yeah, and that's it, guys. I do hope y'all enjoyed. I will come back again probably next week for this and upload a prediction for that as well. Please don't judge me too hard on this. I apologize, but this is my prediction, guys. Anyways, I shall see y'all in the next one. Blue Mist out. Peace.